sport. As soccer-loving Nigerians await announcement of a new coach for the men's senior national team, the Super Eagles, the argument for or against hiring of a foreign coach jolted the process. But the former Super Eagles playmaker Adepoju, MON, says an indigenous coach is not inferior to his foreign counterpart. Adepoju, popularly called the headmaster, also believes that a good coach is a product of good training. He spoke exclusively with Babajide Kolade Otitoju during his recent visits to Ibadan, Oyo State. Let's share that interview with you.
Much is expected from the Super Eagles, and the thing is that they have to live to expectation of Nigerians to make Nigerians happy. So that's my expectation too, to have a very good team, them playing very good football. Well and good football, and qualifying, winning matches.
There are those who believe that in that last tournament, our weakness was in the midfield, especially in the creative segment of the midfield. Why has it been difficult for us to find natural playmakers since yourself and JJ Okocha quit the scene?
Well, I don't think it's difficult to find. There are talents all over Nigeria and even abroad too. Probably it's the way the football is being perceived by the coaches and the way it's being played. Probably that's why we have not been able to get creative midfielders. But I still believe that we have very good players in all departments, both midfield, attack, and the defense. So let's just hope that this new dawn is going to be a very good one.
We are not doing enough by way of scouting for these talents, because we see a lot of good talents in attack, but in midfield, especially the central midfield, we seem to have some issues.
Well, if you're talking about, seeing creative midfielder like Okocha and all that, there are some times that things will not work well and all that. But I still believe that we have talent, and we're going to see them very soon.
There are those who believe that at this stage, we really do not need foreign coaches, that our coaches, especially players who played so many times for their country, that they have the ability to deliver the goods. Where do you stand?
I share that sentiments too. But nevertheless, I believe the NFF, they are going to do their best to make sure that they get us a very good coach. But for me, and from my own point of view, we need a home-based coach.
Someone who played the game for many years and played in Spain as well. What really makes a good coach? What are the qualities that you would want to see in any coach that can be described as good enough?
Well, everybody has philosophies, and all coaches have their own styles and all that. A good coach is always going to be a coach that is winning matches and all that. And if you are good from wherever and you are not winning matches, you can be considered a good coach. So when we get a coach that plays good football and win matches, we'll be able to say this is a good coach.
Are coaches born or made, in your view?
Well, it's a matter of what you can do, and how you can the players in your disposition, and how you can adapt them into your own philosophy and all that. So I believe a coach, before you can be a coach, you have to be trained. You have to have the license, and now it depends on your ability and to impact into the players for you. And I think that answers both of the question that you.
And if you remember, the German football legend Franz Beckenbauer, he was not trained as a coach, and when he was appointed, the coaches association refused to work under him as an assistant because he didn't have the coaching badge. But he took Germany to the final of the World Cup in 1986, even without being officially trained as a coach. And then he eventually won I think the World Cup 4 years later.
If you are looking at that aspect, how many of that is now, and what the regulation says now, and talking about Beckenbauer, he played, and he worked under coaches, he trained and all that. The only thing that was not that he didn't have was just the license. And before you can train, you have to be trained. And I believe he would have trained under some coaches that he trained under, and he would have seen them training and all that. So I believe it's still the same thing. You have to get your license before you can train now, and you must have the knowledge. And most especially, you will see that the coaches that are performing very well nowadays are ex-players that have played in the highest level. Look at Guardiola, look at all other coaches and all that. So I believe, you have to, before you are made.
I have two more questions for you. One is about your ability to score headed goals, despite not being among the biggest players. How were you able to do it? Was it just your ability to leap or good timing?
Well, everything, have to be put into consideration. One should be able to leap, jump, lift above, other players, and the timing too. Because, the time of jumping, you must know when, so that, you won't jump before the ball comes or after the ball comes. So, everything is encompassing. Everything is in it.
Would you say that your neck muscle also made a difference?
It makes a difference, and the timing and knowing which position where you are at every point in time before the ball comes, and having a parabolical view of the goalpost. So that's all those things are important.
Which one would you describe as your favorite goal for the national team? Either the under-20 that you played for, and the Super Eagles.
If we are talking about the Super Eagles under-20, there are so many of them. The one I scored against Kesikela, the winning goal in the semi-final of the under-20 in 1989, and the one I scored against Spain, the one I scored against Ghana in the semi-final of the Nations Cup 1992, and the one Afro-Asian Cup, King Fahd Cup in Saudi Arabia in 1995 against Japan. So those are most of the goals that I cherish.
You don't have a particular goal in mind? No favorite headed?
All those goals were very fantastic, and I love them. It's same.
Finally, during your playing days in Nigeria, with Shooting Stars, with famous Scorpions, they used to sing your name. They used to drum, praising you to high heavens during matches. They will be singing, the Shooting Star supporters who are fond of singing Mutiu ni o wole, Adepoju ni o wole, Mutiu ni o wole. When you look back at that time, how do you always feel?
Well, I feel great. I feel happy that I was able to put smiles into the faces of people from back in those days, and looking at it, scoring at the Liberty Stadium against First Bank, one of the goals that I still cherished against First Bank during the league, and I feel proud and happy, and that God has been able to lift me up and make people like what I did then.
Great one there. BK was speaking with former Super Eagles player Mutiu Adepoju. Well done, BK.
Yeah.
Right.
Mutiu ni ó wọlé, Adepoju ni ó wọlé, Mutiu ni ó wọlé. I watched him in 1987 for the first time, and they were singing that song. He has this ability to ghost into the 18-yard box. You will not know it's coming, just like Paul Scholes of Manchester United. You will not see his emergence in the box coming, and he will just nod the ball. His ability, because when I stood, most people, when I stand beside them, they are taller than me. I have no complaints. But when I stood beside Mutiu, it almost felt, without his cap, it almost felt like we were of the same height. So I'm like, how was this guy able to outjump people and score a lot of those headers? Apart from Segun Odegbami, Nigeria has not produced a header with the ball better than Mutiu for the national team. Because Odegbami is the king of them all when it comes to scoring headed goals. And he scored a lot of headed goals. Sometimes, even from long range, Segun Odegbami was able to score headed goals. I still rate him as the best at scoring headers. And then people like Ozogula too, very good at scoring diving headers. But Mutiu is in that rarefied class of fantastic headers of the ball. Even in Spain, where he played professional football, he scored a lot of headed goals. And here was a man very trim and not really tall. When you compare him to other players, Emmanuel Okala and other, he wasn't really tall. So I kept wondering as I was interviewing, how was he able to outjump people bigger than him, big center halves, big defenders? You know, and he explained that, look, a lot of timing goes into it. You have to time your run very well. You know the right time to jump and all that. And I think people will remember that Leventis United defender, John Benson. Benson was very short. He was always the shortest defender, but you will not beat him aerially. So a lot of timing goes into this, and Mutiu really lectured on that. He's a very humble person. I saw him at my friend Bamdele Johnson's mom's funeral. You know, I saw, is this not Mutiu? I walked up to him, and you didn't know airs about him. You know, it's rare these days to see people very successful who are not pompous, who are not arrogant. Some will simply direct you to their publicist and all that. But Mutiu came across as a gentle bloke. And I really enjoyed talking to him. And he brought back memories of those fantastic goals that he scored for the national team, both at the under-20 level as well as the Super Eagles. And he was also, as a playmaker, he also had tremendous engine. Many footballers these days don't have tremendous engine, especially those playing in the midfield. And you need it. Mutiu could mark. Mutiu had that work rate. You will see him, you know, out in terms of work rate, doing much better than other people because God gave him that gift. He could mark. He was aggressive despite his tiny frame. So I'm happy that I met him one-on-one for the first time, for a player that I had admired since my teenage years.
All right, Adewale.
Yeah, I think Mutiu Adepoju to me is not just a professional; he's a moral inspiration. Even when he was, you know, in the Nigerian team, you know, you hardly hear any scandal about him. People talk about his humility, about his, you know, good conscience. So I'm happy that at 53, he's still looking very young. I was and it's what a stark midfield, but who also scored many goals. Even while in Spain, appearing in about 175 games, he scored about 22 goals. So I think, and on the issue that he raised, you know, whether we can, local coaches we've had very fantastic local coaches who have proved that if we can produce footballers who have international repute. We can also produce coaches. Look at Steve Kechi when he was in charge of Togo between 2004 and 2006. He took them to the World Cup. So I'm happy to see Mutiu again. I was part of the 1994 World Cup team and 1998, and he distinguished himself. So I'm glad that he's still looking very vibrant and agile. So I'm glad to watch him on TV, and I think it's one of the living legends in this country.
So, Mikio, talking about the issue he raised, it's coming at this time when Nigeria is scouting for the 27th coach of the Super Eagles. Is it really about foreign coaches?
I don't think even the way things are now that it makes sense for us to go and spend the precious hard currency on a foreign coach. Because, look, indigenous coaches can do it. They can do it if they get the right environment. They understand the mentality of our players better. They understand the footballing culture here better. So I think that the time is ripe, especially our old footballers who were exposed, who played abroad for years, worked under different coaches. You saw what Stephen Keshi did. I said, as an indigenous coach, he won the Nations Cup. And Keshi was a natural leader. He had also played in different countries of the world. So he had picked up valuable lessons. Look at Senegal. For years now, they've been using an indigenous coach who was part of their team that went to the World Cup for the first time, I think, in year 2000 or so. And he's been doing well. He's taken them to the World Cup. He's won the Nations Cup for them. And they are among the best-rated teams in Africa. So I believe that at this point, Mutiu is right. We need to get an indigenous coach. But let's get one who has some level of international pedigree, so one that even our neighbors or some African countries too can hire. We have players like Muneke. Muneke played for Barcelona. He played for Sporting Lisbon. He has experience, and he has also coached outside Nigeria, and he coached the under-17 team to win the World Cup. So we have players, we have former players that I'm confident that if we give them the job and we give them the right environment and support, they will deliver the goods.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your insight on all of our discussions today. Thank you so much. Babajide Kolade Adepoju, Adewale Odeoye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you very much for watching. That's all on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode tonight at 11:30. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.